Hello and welcome to Scoping Out Tools. Recently at Maker Central I got the Sharp Edge from GSharp and I'm wanting to check out the blades, the diamond sharpening blades under the electron microscope, and they're going from 200 grit all the way up to 1500 grit. So I've actually used it already in my workshop. I've put an edge on one of my plane blades and chisels, which I'll show in a different video. But what I want to also check out is, did the razor do its job at removing all the debris, which this is, as you can see, is just a standard eraser from a stationery shop. Let's see how it does. This is the 200 grit, and we can see that we're picking up iron, nickel, and also the carbon. Now we can see that you've got multiple faceted grits here, and it's bound in this media, which should be nickel. So let's just jump to a different detector, which is a backscatter detector, and we can actually see that they've got dark areas, which should be the carbon, and light areas, which is the nickel. However, see, we've actually also got some light grey stuff. Let's actually just give this a little test. So I'm just going to do a point on this, and you can see that is carbon. A point on this area, and we can see it is nickel. And let's look at these grey areas. Okay, that's a piece of silicon, aluminium oxide, interesting. That's aluminium oxide as well. Aluminium oxide, aluminium oxide. So it seems that there is a little bit of contamination on these, that you've got an aluminium grit inside the actual media here. So let's actually have a look at the next one along, which is obviously the 400 grit. So I'll keep the same magnification. What do we see here? So we can see that it has actually reduced in size. You can also see I've got some ripped up material. That ripped up material is likely the chisel that I had been sharpening. So again, we should be able to see that that is a different material. So let's just have a look over it again. So again, carbon, that I'm assuming is aluminium oxide as well. So let's just do a couple of shots. So this one, yep, carbon, background, nickel. The light grey, aluminium oxide. So there are some aluminium oxide grits here. And let's just have a little look at the, yep, those little ribbons, that shrapnel, that is actually your iron, because it was obviously a steel blade that I was doing this on. Let's just check that area as well. Yep. And so that's shown quite well that it is nickel embedded with a little bit of iron around. Okay, so let's pop over to the next one, which is 800 grit. Again, I'm keeping the same magnification until we need to go to a higher mag. And all right, so again, this looks, actually most of it is the carbon, the diamond, but there are an odd little bit, but they're becoming less frequent. I'd say there's more with the higher grit. So let's again just double check it. That's a piece of silicon there. That one there. aluminium oxide, but as I say, vast majority of it is carbon, and the other part is your nickel. There's a few little bits of debris here, which sure enough, that is actually iron. And let's go to the finest grit. And this finest grit is 1500. Okay, you can really see the difference at how small the parts are here. Let's see how fine they are on the surface. So I'm just gonna change it. Well, actually, before I do that, let's just have a little look. So this is probably, it seems to have the highest purity, that there is mainly just diamond particles on it. There doesn't seem to be any light grey particles. I'm just looking around. There is obviously some debris. Let's just check the debris. So first of all, a little bit of carbon. Yep. A little bit of nickel. Yep. Let's look at debris, and that is iron. Fair enough, because obviously that's what I've been polishing. So compare the surface roughness, and you can see that you've got the curvy stuff, which is your nickel, and then the sharp points, and that will be your diamond. And again, if we just jump to say an 800 here, and you can see that it's similar. Now, if I just pop to this area, this is an area with a lot of debris. I can see it physically with the eye. I can see a dark patch. And so let's jump back to our backscatter detector so that we can see compositional difference. Right, there's a lot smaller particles hanging around. And let me just come out a bit in mag. So what I'm trying to see, actually let's go maybe 100, and so we can see that is my major scoring area with that dark area there. Let's just move on to the middle of that and reset. And it looks like it's all this dirty stuff that is what we're looking at. So let's just double click on that. Let's say here, yeah, there you go. Because we are felling off such small pieces of iron, then what's happening is it is just very small particles. So let's just do a slow scan of that, just so you can actually see how thin the material you're slicing off is. All that damage for it. So you've got the crystal that size, but it's the facets that are going to be slicing it off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an eraser to it, and then we'll go back to it. So this was the band that we were looking at. And so this is the eraser I'm just going to use, and I can see it cleaning up. And let's just pop that in after we give it a quick air blow. You can see now I've cleaned it up. This is exactly the same area where we had a lot of this rubbish here. And again, we've got rid of a lot of the iron that was covering up these particles. We can now see the faceted diamonds, so it really shows how much the rubber actually cleans it up. Again, if I just run a quick point on it, that's mainly carbon. There's a little bit of calcium showing up. I'm just, so iron in that area, nickel, nickel, carbon, and what I'm just seeing is there's this slightly different grey there. There's calcium there. I think the calcium is actually coming from the rubber, and I could probably test that by throwing in a little bit of rubber. If you're interested in that, please let me know. But I've cleaned up all the other ones as well, but as I say, if we compare the lower mag image, so I think it was about 120 times, compare that against what we're seeing before. Oops, I'm just saving the image. Compare that to what we were seeing before, and this was a 400. And we can really see why you should actually clean up your sample. It is worth noting that I'm just back over at the 400, and we can actually see we still have the other gritted material. And again, if I just click and hold on that, that is a piece of silicon there. And I'm sure if I search around, I'll be able to find the piece of alumina as well somewhere. Yeah, so let's try that. Yeah, that's alumina right at the very edge. So again, this just sort of shows that we actually have there is other grits other than diamond actually in the media itself. The razor did quite well at removing the debris. I was surprised at how well it cleaned it up, and now it seems to be as good as new, so I can start sharpening again. I will be in a future video looking at how the blade changes as I actually go up the grit size. Comment below to see if you are interested in seeing that, and I'll see what I can put together. Thanks very much for watching Scoping Out Tools. Bye for now.